In the murky depths of our oceans and rivers lies an invisible threat that's infiltrating our lives in ways we never imagined. Microplastics. These minuscule particles, often overlooked, are silently making their way into our food and water, posing a grave danger to our health and the environment. Let's start with how microplastics are formed. When larger pieces of plastic debris like bottles or bags end up in the ocean, they gradually break down into smaller fragments due to sunlight, wind, and wave action. This process, known as fragmentation, produces microplastics, which are tiny particles measuring very less in size. Now you might wonder, how do microplastics end up in the food we eat? Well, marine animals often mistake microplastics for food and consume them. These particles then enter the food chain, with larger predators ingesting smaller ones containing microplastics. Eventually, these contaminated animals may end up on our dinner plates, exposing us to microplastics. And that's not all. Microplastics aren't just entering our bodies through marine life. They're sneaking into our daily lives through insidious pathways we might not even realize. Take, for instance, the plastic chopping boards we use in our kitchens. Every time we slice and dice on these surfaces, tiny plastic fragments break off, contaminating our food. And what about those trusty old water bottles we've been refilling for years? As they degrade over time, they release microplastics into the water we drink, unknowingly exposing us to a cocktail of harmful chemicals with each sip. But it doesn't stop there. Microplastics are omnipresent in our environment, from the air we breathe to the soil beneath our feet. They're swirling in the breeze, lurking in the dust, and seeping into the ground, making their way into the very essence of our existence. The consequences of this pervasive contamination are dire. Studies have shown that microplastics can act as magnets for toxic substances, absorbing pollutants like a sponge. When ingested, these microplastics can leach these toxins into our bodies, wreaking havoc on our health. Now let's shift our focus to one of the most shocking and saddening truths. Microplastics in human breast milk. A systematic review published in the National Center for Biotechnology Information. The systematic review investigated the presence of microplastics in human breast milk, aiming to assess the extent of contamination and potential health implications. The study analyzed existing literature on this topic, including research articles published between 2011 and 2020. In the study, researchers analyzed 34 breast milk samples for microplastic contamination using Raman microscopy spectroscopy, RMS. They found microplastics in 26 samples. Now let's talk about the effects of microplastics on human health. Digestive system effects. Microplastics can cause gastrointestinal irritation and inflammation, leading to symptoms like abdominal pain, bloating, and changes in bowel habits. Additionally, they may result in the absorption of toxins, causing nausea, vomiting, and further abdominal discomfort. Respiratory system effects. Inhaled microplastics can cause oxidative stress in the airways and lungs, leading to respiratory symptoms like coughing, sneezing, and breathlessness. Additionally, they may carry harmful toxins like polystyrene, which can damage lung cells and raise the risk of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Endocrine system effects. Microplastics disrupt hormone functions, causing disorders like metabolic issues, developmental problems, reproductive disorders, and infertility. They can also carry toxins like bisphenol A, further impacting the endocrine and reproductive systems. Immune system effects. Continuous exposure to microplastics can trigger long-term inflammation and change how the immune system works. Microplastics can activate the body's natural defense mechanisms and influence the expression of genes and production of proteins involved in immune responses. General health effects. Microplastics harm health by causing inflammation, oxidative stress, disruptions in lipid metabolism, imbalances in gut bacteria, and neurotoxicity. Experiments reveal raised levels of inflammation and oxidative stress in cells exposed to microplastics. Animal studies confirm disturbances in lipid metabolism, increased oxidative stress, gut bacteria imbalances, and neurotoxic effects from microplastic exposure. The systematic review highlights the presence of microplastics in human breast milk as a global concern, raising questions about the implications for maternal and infant health. Further investigation is warranted to elucidate the extent of contamination, identify potential health risks, and implement strategies to minimize exposure to microplastics. Imagine a bunch of tiny attackers seep into your cells, damaging your hormones and weakening your immune system. This isn't science fiction. It's the harsh reality of microplastic pollution, a ticking time bomb threatening our well-being. But there's hope on the horizon. By arming ourselves with knowledge and taking decisive action, we can stem the tide of microplastic pollution. It starts with simple yet impactful changes in our daily habits, like opting for natural materials over plastic, choosing sustainable products, and advocating for stricter regulations. Together, we can rewrite the narrative of our planet's future. A future where clean waterways flow with life, where our food is free from harmful contaminants, and where the air we breathe is pure and unpolluted. But it's up to us to make it happen.